Welcome back to First Things First. Undisputed is coming up in a little bit. Hey, Joy, good morning. How's it going out there? What are you guys talking about today?
Good morning, Jenna. Coming up on Undisputed, was it a dirty hit on Aaron Rodgers? Do we all owe Jay Cutler an apology? And why do the refs hate the Jets? We'll discuss all of that. Plus, we've got Tony Gonzalez, Greg Jennings, and Rob Ryan in studio with us. Undisputed is coming up next. Jenna, back to you and the guys. Happy Monday.
Thank you, Joy. Happy Monday to you, too. We didn't talk about whether it was the refs that didn't like the Jets. We just kept talking about the play. Hey, after a week of drama, and that's putting it mildly, the Steelers handed the Chiefs their first loss of the season. Le'Veon Bell had his best game of the year, rushing for 179 yards and a touchdown, while Antonio Brown caught 8 passes for 155 yards and a touchdown of his own. Hey, what problems? Ben Roethlisberger spoke about the game afterwards.
We never quit. We never gave up. Guys fought to the end. Just so proud of our defense.
We talked about responding in the right way, and that the response started on Monday. And ultimately, the response would be measured today. And so it's good to see the proper response.
I guess this old Cowboys got a little bit left in them.
You have to laugh just because the week that Roethlisberger had going back and forth with his, confidence and ability. But, Nick, I ask you, are the Steelers back once again as contenders in the AFC after this win?
I don't think they ever left being contenders in the AFC. Now, they were in a bit of crisis. They they had the drama in a win after Antonio Brown was upset about not getting the ball on a particular play. That was then compounded by a terrible performance against Jacksonville by their quarterback, which was then compounded by his comments and then Bell's comments, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, and we're going to Kansas City. And for most teams in the league, going to Kansas City is a big problem. Not so much for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has had the Chiefs' number the last few years, even as the Chiefs have been really good. Since week 8 of 2015, Kansas City Chiefs are 27-4 against 30 teams in the NFL, and 0-3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so this is a team that even when the Chiefs have been awesome, the Steelers have just had their number. What this reminded everyone, though, is you are always going to be in it when you have a running back as good as Le'Veon Bell, a wide receiver as good as Antonio Brown, and a quarterback who, even though he's getting older, even though he is coming off a terrible game, still absolutely knows how to win like Ben Roethlisberger, and add to that a coach that I think is one of the better coaches in the league in Mike Tomlin. Like, this was the reason that the Steelers just 3 weeks ago, CeCe, were the Vegas favorites to win the Super Bowl because of this level of talent that they have.
Even before this game, we thought that the Steelers would win the AFC North, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you win the AFC North. What does that get you?
At least one home playoff.
Get you in. There's another thing that I believe to be true. I believe the Chiefs will have the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I believe they'll have the best record in the AFC. So are they a part of the AFC makeup? Well, for one, they're going to win the division. That gets them in the playoffs. You had the numbers that say no one is better against the Chiefs and at Arrowhead than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, of course, they got a game later on in the season against New England, so they'll be able to measure themselves against them. But absolutely, the only way they're able to make sure that they stay a part of the AFC in the championship picture is if they keep the same type of physicality, all right? They changed the offense. They went from a 3-receiver offense to more of a pro-style offense, 2 receivers, either 2 tight ends and a fullback, put L. Bell deep in 7 yards deep and hand him the football. The disparity between run and the passes were 37 runs, 25 passes. Well, people say, man, Antonio Brown had a big game. He was still targeted in double digits. He was still targeted 10 times. So he still had a good game. But it starts with the offensive line and the overall physicality. I don't believe that they're a championship team with 3 receivers on the field because they need the blocking. It helps the offensive line, an extra fullback or an extra tight end. If Todd Haley can continue the physicality for which they went into the game with, we're not coming here to throw it 50, 55 times, which they did in the loss to Jacksonville.
Yep.
So let's get more physical. This is something, too, as the leaves change in October and we start to get the bad weather later in the season in December. This is something that's pliable, it's duplicatable, and if they want to win a championship, they're going to have to be able to copyright what they did yesterday.
And, Nick, it didn't hurt that the Chiefs came out and were flat and just did not play their best.
I mean, the Chiefs had 25 yards of offense through 3 quarters. but part of that is what the Steelers were doing.
Absolutely. Defensively, they dominated the front line.
I mean, and the Chiefs had a bunch of injuries on the offensive line, but they've had those injuries all year long, and Kareem Hunt's still been running all over everybody. Now, Kareem Hunt got his 100 yards from scrimmage for the 6th straight game. That was mostly off one long catch. I think he had 21 yards rushing in the game. The reason I picked the Steelers to win the Super Bowl was not just because I believed in Bell and Brown and Roethlisberger and Tomlin, but no team over the last 5 years has spent more draft capital on defense. I think it's 5 straight years they have spent a first-round pick on a defensive player. I expected those players to start paying dividends. You add to that James Harrison, who, they acquired 15 years ago, is still out there making enormous plays. By the way, the last time the Chiefs played the Steelers was in the playoff game, right? It's a low-scoring game, 18-16. The game ended when James Harrison on Eric Fisher drew a holding call. This game effectively ended when James Harrison beat Eric Fisher for a sack to force the Chiefs in 4th and 18.
James Harrison, he knows you're from Kansas City. He also knows that you said the comments about Adrian Peterson, so he was trying to get some get back on you. And who's this guy that says us old guys can't play?
If people don't know, James Harrison tweeted to the show very angry at me. Can I say one number about this before we move on?
Yes.
Bell and Brown.
Yes.
I'm dying to talk Patriots. 3 hours we're on the air. Go.
Bell and Brown, while people are like, Antonio's upset about the play, Bell's upset about his carries. In NFL history, no team has ever had 2 guys through 6 games, both with 700 scrimmage yards, until the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. They are through 6 games as effective a duo as we've ever seen in NFL history scrimmage yards-wise. So these guys, I think, are going to be pretty happy about their roles moving forward.
Maybe. Until next week.
All right, moving on to the Patriots and the Jets. Patriots beat the Jets, or more realistically, they didn't lose to the Jets. It wasn't without controversy, though. With 8 minutes to go, Austin Seferian-Jenkins had a touchdown called back, changed to a touchback. Patriots go on to win 24-17. Jenkins was asked about the play after the game.
I let my team down in that situation. Next time I got to stress better ball security so I can get it. I feel like I scored, but at the end of the day, that's what the ref called. I'm going with what the ref said. They make the calls, and I've got to have better ball security, and I've got to review the tape and make sure I make the necessary corrections so that doesn't happen again.
So, Cece, I want to know whether you think that the Patriots should feel, do you think they should feel good about this team and this win, or, they barely beat the Jets? This isn't one of those, pound your chest, feel good about it kind of wins, and they barely escaped, too.
No, I think the Patriots are realists, though. They realize these divisional games are very tough. Tom Brady, in his interviews before the game, he said every time he travels south to New Jersey, they're always tough battles. They're not happy the style for which they went about getting there, all right? Because they have no margin of error. You would think by this time in the season, they would have some type of continuity. They would have some type of theme for how they're going to do business. And right now, we don't know. Besides Gronk and Brady, we don't know what can we depend on. The defense, they shut down the run. They couldn't even shut down the pass for the Jets, one of the worst NFL offenses that they're going to see. No, the question mark, they didn't answer more questions than questions were presented for them going forward. This is the real New England Patriots, and I'm very concerned.
I literally have zero confidence when I'm watching the Patriots play. When I'm watching a game at home and I don't like where it's going, or when I watch a movie and I get up to the point where I don't like, I switch it. I'll come back to it, but I'll just switch it. I was on a plane yesterday watching this game. There's nowhere to go. I was sitting in a seat watching this game. No part of this game gave me any confidence whatsoever. So then I went and I did something that I can't even believe I'm going to do, and you're going to kill me for it. But I went and I looked at all the games they won, because I never felt confident at all. And this is what it was. Pats beat the Saints after 10 days of rest. They beat the Texans by 3 points. They beat the Bucks by 5, and they just barely beat the Jets by a touchdown. Yeah. I was right. I have zero confidence because they seemingly don't have it. They eke out every single win they had. They're barely there.
The Pats.
I'm never going to do that again, by the way.
The Pats have played 6 games this year. One of them they were in control of throughout was a clear victory, the game against the Saints. Every other game they've played, now the ones they've lost, they could have won. So, it's gone about the way it should have. You win, lose about half your close games. But what were we concerned about? Biggest thing we were concerned about going into this game for the Pats, the defense.
Yes.
Oh, well, they held the Jets 17 points. They still gave up 400 yards of offense. 6th straight game. The Jets had just played the Browns. The Browns held the Jets to 212 yards of offense. 212. Like, they put up 408 on the Patriots. Where else were we concerned of? Man, if Tom Brady stops playing at this MVP caliber level, what's the offense going to look like? Well, we saw it yesterday. The offense looked a little squeaky, a little leaky. Now, Gronk was very good, but Brady, even with 10 days off from their last Thursday night game, he had his worst game of the season, or the worst game since week 1. It looked like those hits, CC, were starting to pile up as we saw them pile up last season.
Right. One thing you need to watch with New England, watch Malcolm Butler. Watch how his performance has gone down defensively in man-to-man coverage, not necessarily dependable the way he used to be. And, you know, Dion Lewis, him emerging as maybe their go-to running back, also running in between tackles more than they have before. We know he's a competent receiver out of the backfield, but giving him the actual football might be something we'll see going forward with the Pats.
And, Jenna, next week, Falcons, Pats.
Sunday
Two
night.
teams that were in the Super Bowl that both this year have winning records, but with real question marks. If the Pats defense is what it was, if you give up 408 to Josh McCown and the Jets, what are you giving up to Matt Ryan and the Falcons? What do you, if you're letting the Jets get after you, what's Vic Beasley going to do? Those are fair questions, real questions.
And you should go to commercial break thinking about how you're going to answer those questions, Nick.
tomorrow.
We're going to be back tomorrow morning, 6:30 Eastern. Stay right here because Undisputed
I got to
starts
send this
right
to my
now.
guy.
Yeah.
Still.